Good to go. September 8th, Finance Committee meeting from the order and the approval of the agenda. And then second, all right. Votes, all three. Agenda approved. And then, do you have any public comment on agenda items? No, we're all good.
Apparently never.
Move on to our arbitrage calculation. Excited.
Okay, well, Mr. Guthrie, I thought you were gonna explain to us what the arbitrage was first before I got into the nitty gritty.
You're gonna get more money.
So because we receive tax exempt bonds, we are subject to a calculation called arbitrage, where we are allowed to keep certain earnings versus our actual earnings on the bond proceeds that we hold in our investment accounts while we're not using those funds. So we had a bond anticipation note last fall. We received $57 million to help us start our referendum projects. And then we also issued our SCAGO bonds for capital projects and for our installment purchase revenue bond payments for last year. So from September of 24 through June 30th of 2025, we had to have a calculation based on those bonds. They were comparing, so we work with a third-party vendor. They are Amtech, American Municipal Tax Exempt Compliance Company. And they've worked on many of our calculations before because we're subject to this every time that we get tax exempt bonds. And we've had to pay arbitrage in the past. And when you pay arbitrage, it's a rebate back to the IRS. So it sounds like a bad thing, but it's not, because that means we have earned every single cent that we could on these tax exempt bonds. So we did have to make a payment to the IRS for our excess rebate, because our bond yield, which was the rate that the issuer pays the bondholders, versus our investment yield, which was our actual earnings, was higher. So our investment income, down to the nitty gritty, our investment income was $2,519,083. And our bond yield was 3.59%, but our earnings, our taxable investment yield was 4.68%. So we received more, and the allowable amount that we were able to keep was 1.9 million. So that was still really good. So we had to make a payment to the IRS for $587,725. And the reason why I wanted to bring that to the Finance Committee is because that's a larger amount than we've ever had to pay before. And it will be on our transparency reports. And I just wanted y'all to be aware of that. But it's not a bad thing. Like I said, we've had to pay it back before, and we've still made $1.9 million. And we're still earning interest on those funds. It was just, this was the timeline where they had to do that calculation. So that was item number one. What questions do you have about that?
Just want to say good news.
How about that?
Yeah, I like that.
1.9 million, right?
Yeah.
We can use that on other
They
projects.
can find some more.
Excellent. Okay, well, speaking of finding more money, item number two is interest savings on our 2015 GEO bonds. So in June of 2024, the school board passed a resolution allowing the superintendent and our financial advisor to monitor and determine a most advantageous time to sell bonds if and when the market would provide a savings on that, on those bonds. So the 2015 GEO bonds that we issued from our 2012 referendum. And so we issued some in 2012, and then we issued more in 2015. So on August 18th, 2025, we actually sold refunding bonds off that original issuance, which was 39.9 million. We were down to 30 million. We worked with our advisors from Compass Municipal Advisors, LLC. Brian Nurick is our financial advisor. He works directly with us and has saved us millions of dollars with many refundings that we've done over the past. And because, and also at this time, the market was better than it was on kind of a downslide from where it had been. That's why we earned so much money with our arbitrage, because the interest rates were really high. So the interest rates weren't coming down as quickly as when we earned that money, but we did have an original interest rate of 3.452% on those 2015 bonds. And when we did the refunding, it was 2.743%. So more savings, gross savings of $1,054,084.
Girl, stay in the million.
Yes. So at one time we had talked, with Mr. Gordy and Dr. Wimberly about trying to do a refunding a few months ago, and, the market wasn't going to work out. So this time he was like, let's go. We're gonna do $1 million this time. So we did it. That was good, right? Okay. Next item is any questions about that? The next item that we had on the agenda was concerning our investment guidelines. So right now, we have school board policy DIA on investments. This was adopted in February of 2014. So I will say we probably need to bring this back up to update it some. But the point we wanted to bring out about this, or several points, is that we do follow the South Carolina Code of Laws under section 59, 69, 215, which I think Lisa knows by heart, so if you want to know that we may invest in interest-bearing accounts for CDs issued by banking institutions licensed to do business in this state, or in securities issued by or guaranteed by the U.S. government. So one of the things also in our policy right now is it states to address interest rate risk, the district will not invest in maturities exceeding 24 months. That might be a little outdated because there are some other investments that we could possibly invest in that could be more advantageous if we went a little further out from 2 years. So we may want to contemplate going to no more than 5 years, but our current policy says 24 months. We're reviewing some of the policies from districts around the state, and the highest one that I've seen is no more than 5 years. So currently our district dollars are kept in the South Carolina Local Government Investment Pool and transferred to our operating bank account weekly for accounts payable and biweekly for payroll. So we have, we're able to get drawdowns. They're available the next morning. If you request it by 4 p.m. today, you can get it first thing in the morning. There are no fees. And then we currently have all of our referendum bond dollars because we just did our referendum bonds in April, May of this year. So we have bonds that are in a separate local government investment pool account. And then our capital project funds are in another separate local government investment pool account. And they're all earning interest. So currently their interest rate is at 4.45%, which is pretty good. It's higher than my interest that I get on my checking account for sure. So one of the things about the local government investment pool that is advantageous is that they can invest in commercial paper money. They can invest in commercial paper, whereas if we were to invest with financial institution, they can't do that with our dollars, but the state treasurer can. So we can get some higher liquidity and lower risk of default by going with that avenue. It's easy, it's convenient for us to stay with local government investment pool, and helps us to ensure that we comply with our federal tax code, like what we were talking about with arbitrage. But I would say that the reason why we're bringing this up is because we were approached by a financial institution for us to invest some money with them. But right now, we wouldn't really be able to give them the drawdown schedule, or we wouldn't know like when our dollars would be needed, because we have like for our bond referendum dollars, there are just a few things that are up in the air. We don't know what kind of time frame, if we're going to need monies sooner or later. So I'm not sure that at this point in time, we would want to move away from local government investment pool just because of the timing of what we're looking at with our projects. Not to say we don't want to do something with a local financial institution later, but with these dollars, maybe it's not best, but I wanted to bring that to y'all because Mr. Doherty and I were approached by local financial institution to do that.
Okay. Wasn't informed for agency.
It was not.
Maybe do insurance, right?
Exactly.
You do investing too? Oh, does he? I didn't know that. Okay.
No.
Okay.
It was. But I would like to recommend that, that maybe we can bring that to the policy committee. I can work with Ms. Graham. She can help us take this.
Okay.
I made a note of that.
Okay. And I guess like, did you, what districts, I guess, had the 5 years that you saw?
Oh, Charleston School District.
Okay.
Yeah, so it might, it's good for us to update our policies. We can include some additional guidance and principles related to our investment goals,
Okay.
short-term, long-term investments, and how to competitively procure service. Because just because this financial institution came to see us, another financial institution might say, hey, we have a better deal for you.
So right now, we don't really have a kind of outlined.
We don't.
That definitely can make the difference. So,
And another thing that, like I said, there were no fees with the local government investment pool, but with the financial institute, they did quote us fees, but they would be willing to give us a proposal to tell us how much interest we would earn, what the fees would be, and obviously a comparison with how much it would be if we stayed with local government investment pool. I mean, the one thing with going, with, say we invested for 2 years, then you have that locked in rate. Whereas with the local government investment pool, it could go down. It's just.
But if you do that, then you're locked in. Like you're saying, if we needed to access the money before that, might.
Yes. And I would not ever propose that we put the whole thing in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe just some of it, like if we knew that we weren't gonna build one of our schools for 3 years. I don't really know that right now, because we don't know what's
It's a
going on.
lot in the air.
Yes. So if we had a better drawdown schedule and we could work with them about that, because they did ask us for that, but I'm not sure that we really have that. Unless Kenny got that.
Not yet.
Okay.
We're working on it day by day.
So any other suggestions, Mr. Guthrie or Ms. Powell, about investments that, we just include in that or see or?
I think it's just, yeah, policy for maximum flexibility. We're kind of on the margins we need. So money sitting on the sidelines could be used better.
So this other company group that you met with, did they give you its proposal or they just kind of floated the idea? How?
They didn't give us a formal proposal. They did give us some, suggestions on what an interest rate would be. I think for 2 years, it was 4.1%. For 3 years, it was 4.0%, but it's locked in. And,
Do you think at this time it's worth getting a proposal or just waiting like you and keeping it in the government?
I don't have a crystal ball to know what the interest rates are gonna do with the local government investment pool, and I think they're just kind of, hoping that we will invest some of our bond referendum dollars with them to be locked in at a certain interest rate. Maybe if we can work on our plan to see if we know what a facilities drawdown would look like for those funds.
First, and then possibly get
Yes.
the proposal.
That would be my proposal, what? Open to
Well, it would
suggestions.
be more responsible of us to, basically just kind of hold that thing for the moment. Because of the fluctuation that's happening politically and everything else, we don't know what's gonna happen, so. It's not as though we have some play money. We need all we can get.
And they don't really, this group doesn't really, deal with a lot of school districts. The one school district that I was able to reach out to, there are only 3 of them, has $10 million with them. So it's not a lot, yes. I know that the rest
Smaller, really.
Every time we've been approached by someone locally,
Oh, okay. Since I've been here, yes.
but we want to support them, but at the same time, we have to make sure we keep our little pals safe.
And that's the other thing too, right. Well, for the flexibility and for the security of, the interest risk or the liquidity, how quickly we can get to it.
Right.
So not to say we won't do it, but we're just on hold for right now. Okay, excellent. Wow, am I talking really fast? It's only been 15 minutes. Okay.
Really explain.
So the last time that we had on the list, which maybe this could turn into a more in-depth conversation is our financial reporting format. And I hate that Mr. Lee wasn't here because he had some ideas on what he wanted us to look forward to for changing up some of our financial reports. So Lisa's done some research and we're looking around with some other school districts and one of the suggestions that Mr. Lee did have was for us to give a top 10 list. Like where's the email that he said? I don't have it. Sorry. Like the top 10 list of what stakeholders of DD2 would really want to see for finances each month. So perhaps we could give a sample of like a little bit of verbiage. Like right now, I just have a bunch of numbers and I just talk, but maybe I need to include some of the notes so that the public will know what I've said. Then they can just read it with part of our reports. Another district did kind of a stoplight thing, like what Rhonda was doing for our CART meetings. If it's red, that means you're in trouble. You need to do something about it. If it's yellow, it means it might be your actuals are a little higher than your budget, but if you give some explanation, well, this is why, and then green means you're looking good.
Are you talking about like when you do a monthly update for us? Okay.
Mr. Lee had also proposed giving more of a like budget versus actual for even our special revenue funds. So we haven't been doing that with any of our titles. Teresa, surprise, sorry. Not that there's anything wrong with reporting any of that. We just haven't been bringing that to y'all necessarily. Just what our budget is, what our actuals are. We don't do that monthly. When the school districts we were looking at does that quarterly. So they give more information on special revenue funds, capital project funds. We bring you capital project dollars and what's being spent, but budget versus actual and total dollars. That could be more helpful.
I think whenever you can educate the public about the different areas that we're spending on and why we're spending there as opposed to holding here, that does, I think, make them feel as though they're included, and we want them to feel that way. We want them to understand, we only have so much money, and that's why certain things does not happen. And so I think more information would be good.
Because we provide all the detailed information of what we spend every month on our transparency reports, and it tells each individual transaction. But I think this would be.
But
more
the average person
we could
sitting
use
there.
some pie charts and some bar graphs, and it could be like, this,
Yeah, something that they'll be able to easily understand.
They can do that quarterly, correct?
yes.
That's good.
And we'll still continue with I think one of the things that Mr. Lee was also talking about was our projections for the year. And I feel like our cash flow statement really does that because we show what, our actuals and then what we're projecting out for the rest of the year based on, and we have our budgeted column,
Right.
budget versus actual, and what the difference could be for each category.
That's good.
Okay, any other areas that you could think about? Mr. Guthrie, you're on the finance committee.
Yeah, I think
Some good ideas.
Yeah, more visual, more takeaways, I think. Beneficial.
We're just like number people.
We are.
We have to.
We talked about it, we're like, we see it, we understand it. But we have to remember that not everybody thinks that way, or does that every day, or understands it that way. So we just looking for some just input from the other side, because it's always gonna be numbers.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you being willing to be open to do that.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Again, yeah, it's not about not wanting to be transparent at all. It's just, it's just the format we've been doing. So I was happy that
And it
you
was
wanted something
working,
different. Yeah.
But there are some people out there probably have no idea what all that means. So
Numbers.
clarity,
Do that.
that's good. Thank you.
Those were all of the items that I think were on the agenda. Was there anything else, Mr. Guthrie?
Nothing else. Do y'all have anything or? All right. All right, then I guess if we have any general public comments?
Yes, I do. I want to say first, I appreciate the board's sensitivity to the public's not knowing much about finance and particularly school finance, because I can say after 25 years of working for school boards as their attorney, I didn't know much about finance. I relied on the finance person as basically explain everything in detail. But just to cut my comment short, there's things you can do now. You don't have to, in my opinion, have to come up with a written product every meeting, like a monthly update on everything going on, everything being spent. The transparency reports are functionally useless, in my opinion, because as you were saying earlier, they record one transaction. They don't like paint the picture or show what's going on with the contract or with the construction effort or whatever. You know, so you have to be like a genius on the outside to figure out what's going on, you know, if you're not privy to it. So I would say there's a couple of things, and just to give you an example for tonight, like you used the term arbitrage and so forth. I mean, it would be nice to have like a key term definition if you're going to use complex terms that, and I can say also that, in my opinion, the public doesn't know squat about finances when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I don't mind saying that, but there's so much more that we can do as a school system to help them understand. And one of those things is posting before the meeting, what you're gonna say in not detail, but we're gonna talk about arbitrage. Here's what this means. This is the definition. Here's what it means, the outcome is that we're, having to repay $500 and whatever $1,000. And this is because, we exceeded the amount we're allowed to earn, and so forth. So person coming to the meeting doesn't know anything because they don't have anything to even look at. So you all have that, I'm sure, packets, whatever, which is fine. But the public should be able to have that same information or something abbreviated that would help them understand when it is being talked about here. That way they can come and give you public comment on agenda items. Like, and another thing is, I'm glad you're in this room. Maybe the sound will be better next time. But when you're listening from home in the other room, it was very difficult. And even now, when you look on the screen there, you really can't tell who's talking. So unless I know your voice or the public knows your voice, they don't know who's talking. So, there are devices you can get that will automatically, it's like a little thing in the middle of the table that will automatically follow the voice of whoever's talking and put the camera on them and the audio as well. So I would just say, think about that. I don't think they're that expensive. The other thing is when you're projecting 2 slides up there and you're showing documents on the screen there, if the document has a lot of print in it, fine print, it's real hard to read when you're taking up that much space on a person's home computer with 2 slides like that. You got one of the meeting and one of the attendees. And I would just say for now, just put 1 slide up there when you're projecting so people can read the slide. And then, I would just say getting more information out before the meeting so people can know what's coming up would be one of the key things. And then the other comments I had were, I didn't really catch exactly what this arbitrage thing is, and you don't have to answer it because I know you don't answer questions, but
I explained it, I'm sorry.
Well, how much? We exceeded the amount we're allowed to earn. The net amount we were allowed to earn was 3.9% interest.
The bond yield was 3.59% and our investment yield was 4.68%. So based on the calculation and the timing of when we spend our proceeds to June 30th, we were eligible to keep the 1.9 million.
Okay, and then what was this 578?
587,000 was the rebatable arbitrage.
587,000.
Yes.
that goes to the IRS.
But we still earned our every single dollar that we could. Allowable on tax exempt bonds.
Okay. All right, so yeah, so that's a payment you have to make because you're only allowed to make up to a certain investment amount. Because government bonds are not for making money, they're for building buildings. So that's
You're
why.
allowed to make, to
Some.
earn interest on, yes, but not in excess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and then the government bonds from the 2012 referendum that were reissued in 2015. What was the point of that?
Those were 2015 bonds
Okay,
where the interest rate was 3.4%. But we were able to refund them in 2025 at 2.7%.
with the result being a savings
Million,
of 1 million.
1,054,000. Welcome.
And then,
The transparency reports, I'll just say one little comment about that. That's the format that the state requires us by law.
oh yeah, I know.
Transparency
I know,
reports.
they never tell you how to do it, the way the public would be able to understand. So that's where you guys could step in and I'll end with this comment related to that is that it would be helpful from a finance point of view to be able to periodically track the expenses on contracts that are going out. Because I see very little contracts being on the board agenda for award. And it would be good to, even if it's already awarded for a school or a renovation, especially if there's been change orders issued, to review those here and say, okay, we had a change order, there was no cost involved, here's what we did with it or impact. And vice versa, if there was cost involved, how much was it, and that kind of thing. And then that way, the public is able to more easily, I think, keep up with how we're spending the money. I'm not saying there's a problem with it, I'm just saying it's easier to keep up with if you put it out in front of people once in a while, maybe however often you want to do it. But again, I would put that stuff on the board docs before the meeting so people can look at it, come to the meeting with some idea maybe of what they want to share. That's it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. And at that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Second by Ms. Bell. Right, adjourned.